Hey, fourth graders, we're back for read aloud today, and I'm going to start with chapter 30. We left off yesterday with Charlie going down the water slide with Joel and Jake. I think it's Jake. Yeah, Joel and Jake, and feeling really proud of himself and finally not getting made fun of by his twin brothers. So I was super impressed with Charlie, and um, ultimately he got a pretty bad cut on his leg, and so the park gave them all kinds of free stuff, and one of them was this free stay at the hotel there. So I think it's called Coyote Holler Lodge, and it's attached to the water park. So this is where we're going to start up today. The chapter 30 starts with another quote from Tiberius Shaw, PhD. It says, "As words spill forth from our lips, it is said we murmur. Starlings, those throngs of European immigrants, spill forth across the lip of the sky in their own murmurations, and so they speak to us. A complex system, a grand family of interconnection. They dive and swoop and weave. What are they trying to murmur to us and each other as they move across the empty page of the sky?" If you are offered a coupon for a free night's stay at the Coyote Holler Lodge in compensation for being horribly wounded by a faulty screw in the water park slide, it would be crazy not to accept. So, after the park, we head right over. In addition to the outdoor water park, the Coyote Holler Lodge also has an indoor water park attached to it. I limp on my cut leg through a lobby lined with big fake cactuses sporting cowboy hats and crack open the door just to take a look. Then I close it fast. It's a chaos of shrieking kids and steamy chlorine. Joel says, "This place has a 3-story spiral slide. You go into it through a giant toilet seat. It's awesome. You climb in and get flushed down." Davis says, "I think I already have that flush down the toilet kind of feeling." After we check into our super air-conditioned room, we head to the hotel restaurant, which is called the Roadrunner Roadhouse. We scramble into a big, deep booth with red, leathery seats and order right away because we're starving. And I make the amazing discovery that the Roadrunner Roadhouse in the Wisconsin Dells makes the best chicken nuggets in the universe. Tender, totally white meat chicken with perfectly crispy coating, not too spicy, not too bland, and a side of golden fries that are the perfect combination of crispy outside, soft, golden, buttery, almost mashed consistency potato inside. It all comes in a giant red plastic bucket or basket lined with a red and white checked paper napkin. I eat every last crumb and wish there were more. The twins gobble down theirs too, although they ruin it with disgusting ketchup and dipping sauces. As we munch, Davis shifts around in her seat. She clears her throat a few times. Finally, she asks Ludmilla, "So, I was just wondering, when your brother was in the army, what did he do there anyway?" Ludmilla frowns, but then her face kind of recovers its normal, straight, staring look, and she sighs. "He was an attaché, like sort of a community reaching out person for his unit. He was very friendly, very open, my brother. Not like me. Amar talked to everybody, loved everybody, so it was a good fit." Ludmilla is playing with a salt shaker. She cups her hand and spills a little salt out into it. She stares at the salt as she talks. "He loved everybody, but especially your father. They were friends, you know. It was part of Amar's job to drive the visitors around, so he was your father's driver." We are all quiet as this sinks in. "In the Jeep?" Davis whispers, her face pale. Ludmilla flings the salt from her hand over her left shoulder. "Amar was the driver. He was the one who drove your father around. until that day. And now, I drive you around. Funny world. All four of us, our eyes just go big. It suddenly seems unbelievable that we didn't know this all along. That Amar and Dad were friends. That they were in the same Jeep. How could we have not known this? Davis and the twins all reach out at the same time to put their hands on top of Ludmilla's, on top of the pile of salt she made on the table. I hate the feeling of gritty salt, so I don't put out my hand. But I'm sorry to hear that, Ludmilla, I say. I know, Charlie, she says. She is both teary and smiling. At just about sunset, Davis and I take Tiberius out to pee behind the hotel. The front of this place is super fancy with columns and a waterfall and everything, but the back is just plain gray cement block. It's kind of funny. Yeah, it is, says Davis. Some things in this world are just not what they seem. We're not talking much. We are thinking through what Ludmilla told us about Amar and Dad. If Amar died in the Jeep accident, then shouldn't that make Ludmilla feel mad at Dad and us? Says Davis. I don't know, I say. Gosh, I feel so stupid, Davis says. Here I thought she was some kind of spy or after some information of Dad's, but she probably just wants to feel close to Dad because he was with her brother when they died, right? That's it, right? And that's only natural, Davis sighs. I shrug and we keep walking. Or rather, Davis walks. Tiberius and I both limp. The cut on my leg is stiff and sore. We cross the lot and head into a field of tall grass. Tiberius skitters this way and that, zigzagging like crazy after mice. There's probably a whole little mouse universe out of our sight here. There's so much in the world that you can't see. Suddenly, Davis stops walking. She points toward the pale purple horizon. What's that? At first, I think they're bats, but then I know. Tiny pinpricks of black, thousands of them dot the sky over the distant fields, flying in close formation. The black dots swoop one way, then another, swirling and changing shapes from a big oval to a fast twisting figure eight to a great sail floating over the fields. They are starlings, a murmuration of starlings to be precise. We watch them dive and flip, crossing over each other in all kinds of twisting, tugging, stretching shapes. There must be thousands, or are they just one thing? The shape of something bigger. Davis holds up her phone to take a video. We can show Dad. Hey, how do they keep from smacking into each other? It's a miracle. She's never been interested in birds before. I'm excited to tell her. They get strategic information from 7 points around them, from 7 birds flying nearest them. It tells them how far or how close they can get. Huh, that's wild. Wow. I mean, imagine if people had that, says Davis to herself. She thinks a minute. Are the 7 touching distance birds all members of the same family? I shrug. I don't know. They could be, because you'd really have to trust those birds. Davis asks, what if you were a starling? Who would your 7 touching distance birds be? That's a pretty weird question, Davis. But I guess they would be Dad, Graham, Joel, Jake, you. That's 5. And maybe Ludmilla. Okay, and Tiberius Shaw. Davis laughs. Charlie, you talk about Tiberius Shaw even more than you talk about Dad these days. I think about this. Tiberius Shaw is my bird guru idol. I need him to help me learn more about birds because facts about birds help calm me down. Facts about birds turn mysteries, like murmurations, into something knowable and real. And finding birds in the wild to cross off Dad's list, well, that's like a calm blanket settling down on me, soothing all my nerves. It's better than 100 hand washings. I wonder what it'll be like when I finally meet Tiberius Shaw. I have so many questions. What is he working on now? How much time does he spend out in the wild? How did he lose the little green book? Or did he give it away? I know I would feel terrible if I lost my bird book. Does he miss it? Or was it so long ago that he's forgotten about it? Does he want it back? And does he remember putting in all those hints about where to find him in the sanctuary marsh, in the place on the island with the best view? Has anybody else ever tried to find him there? That's what I think about while Davis and I watch the starling flock dive and swoop, doubling back on itself, changing and morphing into one eerie shape after another. They become smaller and smaller, high and far away in the dusky Wisconsin air, until they finally disappear. The next morning, we have a quick breakfast in the Roadrunner Roadhouse, which smells like coffee and bacon and warm cinnamon rolls. And Ludmilla makes our daily call to Graham. She puts the phone on speaker and sets it face up on the table. It's always hard at first to hear Graham's tough, gruff voice, but then we get over it. So, tell me what you did yesterday. Ludmilla says, Charlie went down a water slide. You gotta be joshing me. Charlie went on a ride? Well, that's a little daredevil. Hey, Charlie, I'm proud of you, and I bet it was fun, right? I bet you loved it, right? I cut my leg, and I probably need a tetanus shot, I inform her. Ludmilla says, Unfortunately, yes, he got this big long scratch from a loose screw. Joel jumps in. Charlie is a loose screw. He and Jake laugh. But they didn't want Charlie to sue them, so we got a free night at a hotel, says Joel. Come on, come again, says Graham over the crackly connection. What's that? How's Dad? Davis asks. Oh, honey, they're still testing and scanning, just in case he needs to go into more surgery. They want to make sure they know every single thing they could possibly want to know. Surgery? Davis's eyes pop. We all freeze and hold our breath. Oh, don't you worry, Graham says. Don't you worry one bit. He won't need more surgery. Dr. Spielman's just taking precautions. Everything's fine. Your job right now is to have some fun. You haven't even had much of a summer, so I want you to live it up. Live it up, huh? We go back to the chilly room and pack up. No one speaks. I think we're all still imagining Dad in that new hospital. Why did Graham have to say the words more surgery? I don't want to think about it. I imagine what it'll be like to tell Dad. Remember how I hate the outdoors? Well, I've come all the way across the country to you, and I've seen all the birds on our someday list, Dad. It'll be like 100 hand washings of calm. All right, here's our next picture. It says, Hall of Birds. And up top is a turkey vulture. I think this is the bird that Kara studied or researched when we did our animals, Native Ohio animals. Chapter 31. The Hall of Birds, this is Dr. Tiberius Shaw, PhD again, his quote, The Hall of Birds at the Field Museum is a hall for the ages. Every human should visit it at least once to garner a sense of the diversity in the natural world of live and let live, and of what we've let die. I'm trying to find images of the Hall of Birds on Ludmilla's phone as she circles the Field Museum parking lot. It is pounding rain, but I don't even mind. I'm so excited I can't stop scrolling, even though the motion sickness makes me want to puke. Charlie's going to make us spend the whole time in the stupid bird place. I want to see the mummies, says Joel. He has on Ludmilla's electric blue wig. Ludmilla is just letting him wear it. He reaches up to adjust it. Sometimes Joel likes to make himself look different from Jake. Once, when they were about 5, he went into the bathroom and cut off most of his hair. Another time, he wore one of Dad's ties like a headband around his head for a week. Now I guess it's Ludmilla's electric blue wig. He says he does it because he gets tired of everyone thinking he's not him. You can go to see the mummies, Joel, says Ludmilla, craning her neck to look for parking spots. Rain is sloshing down hard on the windshield. Old Bessie smells even mustier when it rains. Mummies? Birds? Yes. But first, we must find Mariana. That's the name of our friend from Sarajevo. She works in the offices here. We park so far away, we're soaked when we finally make it up the big, wide stone steps. This place is like an enormous palace with columns and giant, colorful pennants above the entry, flapping in the rain. I hear echoing voices of crowds of people and footsteps and talking and laughter and people putting umbrellas away and buying tickets. Hall of Birds, I say. Hall of Birds, Hall of Birds, Hall of Birds. My heart is pumping with joy. We get it, Charlie. Davis pokes me in the ribs. Just then, Ludmilla shrieks. A slim, dark-haired lady waiting by the ticket booth also shrieks and runs over to her. They hug, smiling and blabber in what I guess is Bosnian. Everyone filing through the entry stares at them a little bit. Ludmilla introduces us to Mariana, who nods at each of us and pats Joel gently on his electric blue head. Ludmilla and Mariana keep hugging each other in sudden bursts. Their eyes look glassy. They blabber some more. And then Mariana digs in her wallet and pulls out a photo of 3 little kids. My boys, she says, handing it to Ludmilla. My goodness, says Ludmilla, and only ever met Luca. 2 more boys you've had. What is Luca, like 5, 6 now? You've been busy. It is insanity, yes, going to college at night, working here days. And the boys? The good thing is, Karim got promoted at the hotel. He is really working his way up. So, you 2 have known each other a long time? Davis asks. We went to same school, lived in the same street, Mariana says. Then she turns and puts a hand on Ludmilla's arm. I'm so sorry about Amar, Mila. I'm so sorry. That strange, glassy look in both their eyes gets worse. Ludmilla's eyes get red and she looks down. Why did he keep going back there over and over all those tours? Mariana asked Ludmilla. She sounds almost mad about it. Ludmilla's mouth goes into a straight line. She shakes her head but doesn't answer. We are still standing in the entrance, dripping. I can see Sue, the world's largest and most complete T-Rex skeleton, rising up above everything back along the main floor. A pterodactyl hovers over her, wings outspread, hanging by some invisible wire. Joel and Jake are jumping up and down. We are all impatient to get going. While Mariana and Ludmilla are jabbering and talking, Davis hands me a brochure with a picture of a big pelican on the cover. The bird collection of the Field Museum is one of the largest in the world, with more than 500,000 specimens representing almost all bird families in the world. We have 90% of world's genera and species here, and specimens include study skins, eggs, nests, and skeletons. We also have a tremendous database, and we stand at the forefront of research, both in the field and in the lab. I have my backpack with my bird book and colored pencils. I hope they'll let me set up shop somewhere and do some sketching. Finally, Ludmilla and Mariana run out of Bosnian things to say. Ludmilla turns to us. Davis, you want to take the twins to the mummies? Ludmilla says. Mariana has arranged something for Charlie. We cut across the main floor, where a big crowd mills around that famous T-Rex dinosaur Sue. Her skeleton tilts forward and her little arms dangle in front of her. She's hovering like some sort of museum party hostess. Sue is smaller than I thought a T-Rex would be. Those Jurassic Park movies made them look tall as skyscrapers. But in any case, with that set of teeth, it's nice to know they're extinct. Although dinosaurs do still exist in a way, because birds, starting with that little Archaeopteryx I showed Lamilla back in Montana, are direct dinosaur descendants. Birds go way back, further than us. Joel, Jake, and Davis have joined the big, buzzing, milling crowd, which is like a murmuration of people, slowly circling, shifting shapes, orbiting the skeleton. But Mariana, Ludmilla, and we turn past the dino murmuration and find ourselves face to face with a glass case of puffins. I breathe in sharply. I stand still. The puffins are only the start. There are more cases, other cases, big shining glass cases everywhere, stretching across a whole hall of birds. There are cases with raptors, shorebirds, songbirds, ocean birds. They stand on perfect legs or sit on nests or hang from wire as if in flight against backdrops of snow, of marsh, ocean, or forest. These stuffed birds are so lifelike, so lit up with beautiful light in their fake glass wildernesses. I don't know where to go, what to look at first. I'll be right back, bird boy, says Mariana, smiling. I'm going to see if my friend Helen can let you into the lab. Ludmilla tousles my hair, which she should know I hate, and then goes to join the twins and Davis at the mummies. Who could possibly care about mummies? Perfectly still shorebirds stand on real sand with painted water behind them. There's a white pelican, wings outspread, frozen in time. Caught in a moment, trapped in suspended animation, just so that people like me can get up close, put our noses against the glass, and imagine we're right there with them in flight. These birds are not quite alive, but they are also not quite dead. It's a hard thing to explain. It gives me a funny feeling in my stomach. I take out my bird book. This is going to be way better than drawing, even from Audubon's bird plates in the baby elephant book. I can see each individual feather. I start penciling the outlines of the pelican's wings, his flattened head, and his plunging, pointed beak that stretches back up and surrounds his tiny eye. All I concentrate on is that one pinprick pupil of eye. Mariana comes and taps me on the shoulder. I jump. Hey, she says. Then she bends over my sketchbook and peers at my pelican. Did you draw all that just now? That's amazing. I slam the book shut. I never let anyone see my work. Do you want to see what goes on in the back and talk to a real ornithologist? I told Helen I had a budding pupil out here. I think budding trees. Pelican eye pupil, student. I am a growing student. We go through a door marked private to where a blonde lady in a lab coat is waiting. You must be our young scientist, she says, putting out her hand. I'm too shy to take it, so I tell the floor, my name is Charlie. Well, nice to meet you, Charlie. I'm Helen. If you want to see our lab, I can show you how we prepare study skins of the birds for research purposes. She leads us through a door to a room with a bunch of desks, cubicles, and sturdy tables where a couple of wrinkly, retired-age people in field museum t-shirts sit. They have special magnifying desk lamps and little tweezers and tool things. They are each working with what looks like lumps of feathers. These birds were brought to us after they flew into buildings nearby. We have a program where we preserve them, says Helen. An old lady looks up from her pile of feathers and smiles. See, she says to me, I cut open the bird, remove the insides, restuff it with cotton, and sew it back up. That's how we make a study skin. My stomach feels quirky. Helen says, any bird you're particularly interested in? For instance, do you like owls? I think about the little screech owl in the tree at Yellowstone. I think about the rush of air on my cheek at the top of Gel Mountain that starry night when the GHO swept across the black sky. It was like he had announced with a cry, make way! I'm the first someday bird to be found. Now you must go forth and find the rest. Yes, I tell her, I like owls. Helen brings me to a wall of long, wide drawers and slides the first one open. It's filled with dead screech owls, their little heads laid out in careful order, row by row. I gulp. I'm afraid I will breathe in what they smell like. I don't want to get close, yet I do. It's sort of like they're zombie birds, dead, yet also alive, sleeping in drawers, biding their time. There are many, many drawers in this room. I know it does seem very strange at first, doesn't it? Says Helen. To see them preserved like this. Everyone feels weird the first time they open a specimen drawer. Yeah. But scientists need access to specimens like this for us to study. For instance, we've had amazing advances in our DNA lab. They've been able to sequence the genome of bird samples that are over 100 years old. They've been able to compare the bird DNA with the genetic makeup of modern birds. Someday, we hope to strengthen the genetic code of modern birds that are in danger by using bits of extinct code to reinforce the health of the species. Wouldn't that be amazing? I nod. And we need those samples in order to do that kind of research. Who knows how these specimens would be of use, even in the very near future? Things may be possible that we can't even imagine today. Like bringing birds back to life? I ask. You mean like they do in the dinosaur movies? Helen smiles. Well, maybe. Helen walks farther down to a different set of drawers. Look here, she says. She opens the drawer and I take a deep breath. There, lying head to toe, are the inert, almost fake-looking bodies of dove-like gray birds. I know them. I know what they are. Passenger pigeons, Helen says. It's been over 100 years now since the passenger pigeon went extinct. Once it was the most abundant bird in all of North America. Flocks of passenger pigeons would darken the sky for miles as flocks flew past. Can you imagine what that sight must have been like? And they performed an important ecological function, spreading seeds and fruit along a wild path across country. But now they're all gone. The last passenger pigeon died at the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914. Her name was Martha. I stare at the puppet-like gray birds so carefully laid out head to toe, each with a little tag tied to it. So, do you think scientists could bring them back? I ask. Do you think that someday we could ever see them flying in the sky again? Would that be the right thing to do? Bring them back to life? Helen raises her eyebrows and smiles and shrugs all at the same time. It's hard to read that visual cue. We walk together back through the lab, past the old people with their tweezers and piles of feathers. She hands me a brochure about DNA research. This will tell you more if you're interested. It's amazing what we can do genetically these days to help birds and other endangered species. This time, I let her shake my hand, and I say thank you very, very much. I go back to the hall and wander around in daze. Ludmilla said to stay there till they came back for me. Well, I don't think I ever want to leave. There's so much to think about, my head is spinning. I open my bird book and find the page for Dad's someday bird list. Bald eagle, check. Great horned owl, check. Trumpeter swan, half check. Sandhill crane, still looking. Turkey vulture, still looking. Emu, maybe in Australia. Passenger pigeon, check. Carolina parakeet. Screech owl, bonus bird from Yellowstone. Prairie chicken, bonus bird from Montana. Starling murmuration, bonus from Wisconsin. Oh, I should have asked Helen if she had a drawer back there that was full of Carolina parakeets. I probably could have crossed them off the list too. But I was so caught up in her talk about genetics and birds, I forgot about everything else in my head. I'm really mad at myself for being too shy and scattered to ask her. Still, there's been progress. I touch the names on the list, touch the check marks with the tip of my finger, and a feeling of satisfaction watches over me. Definitely progress. It occurs to me that there might be an emu in the Hall of Birds. I run from case to case through a maze of bird cases and alcoves and halls until there, in a tall display, is a kind of fluffy brown and gray bird that's almost as big as an ostrich. Check! I sit down and start sketching him so I can show Dad. I've got the emu! Now it's just the turkey vultures and the sandhill cranes. Well, and that poor old Carolina parakeet, who's probably in one of Helen's drawers. I'm so close, but I'm not going knocking on that private lab door again by myself. Too scared. I think about the pretty green and yellow parakeet. I sketched it once from the Audubon book. I think about how Dad used to like local stories about them when he was a kid, how he liked to imagine them flocking by the thousands, and just like the passenger pigeons, how they got hunted into oblivion, how they went from being everywhere to being nowhere. It makes me shiver to think how quickly life can stop, like putting out a light. The twins come to find me. I slam my notebook shut so they don't see my emu sketch. It turned out pretty good. Guess what, Charlie? They say. We found something else in this museum you're going to love. Come with us. Joel pulls and Jake pushes. I think it's going to be a mummy or a dinosaur or something. Where are we going? I'm getting grouchy. Just wait, you'll love it. We go down a flight of stairs and suddenly I'm standing in front of a restroom door. Check it out, Joel shouts. Charlie's dream come true. There's a big sign by the door that reads, America's Best Restroom Award, 2011. I laugh, and so do the twins. They usually make fun of my public bathroom rating system, but it looks like I'm not the only one who does it. All three of us go in, and I gasp in amazement. The sinks are sparkling. The soap dispensers are all nicely filled. Everything is blue and white. The ceiling is painted like a blue sky with fluffy clouds, and the whole place is lit up like heaven itself. 5 stars, I tell Joel and Jake. Definitely top of the list. And we're going to have to stop right here today. I'm already at 34 minutes of reading and we haven't finished the chapter. So we'll check in again and finish chapter 31 together and move on to chapter 32. So I will see you guys soon. I'm looking forward to our next day together. Bye, everybody.